My name is MPANDE. I'm the acting CEO of merSETA. So merSETA stands for Manufacturing, Engineering and Related Services Training Authority. So we are a training authority, and one of the chambers that we service is the automotive chamber. So it's a privilege to be here with our stakeholders in the automotive sector. So what we do is we facilitate training in the sector. So it's actually a privilege that we are part of this conversation, because I honestly believe none of these conversations should happen without us. I think all these kind of conversation relating to the growth of our economy should include all training authorities, because growth cannot happen without skilling our economy. And I was privileged last week. I was part of the delegation that went to China with the Minister of Electricity. And at first I was wondering why he wanted me there, but it made sense because the world is moving. And South Africa, I feel like South Africa has been left behind. For example, it was the first time that I saw an electric bus, right? And that's normal for China. We went to different provinces. Went to Beijing, went to Shanghai, all the Shanghais in China, we were there. And EVs are the way, and our young people, if they were to see that, they have to go to watch a movie that has all those kind of innovations. So I think as a country, we, as merSETA, how we can play a role is we need to be part of these conversations. We need to be invited in rooms where VW, Mercedes-Benz, BMW are talking about the next innovation. merSETA should be part of those conversations. Because right now, we're talking electric vehicles. China is probably moving to the next conversation. We're only talking about bringing them now. We don't even have the right skills at the moment to service the current. I think we only have a few that are in the country. China is talking millions. And if we're going to talk about skills now, we also need to talk about research and innovation so that we don't follow. We are part, when China, we need to be part of the conversations where is the world going? In 2030, what is the plan? South Africa needs to be part of those conversations now.
Yeah. Where do we stand as South Africa?
Well, at first I thought the trip was about electricity, like our current, but I was amazed at the range of stakeholders we met, and one of those was Shanghai Electric. It's a state-owned entity. Now, if you talk about electric vehicles, like I said in China, every second vehicle you see is an electric vehicle. And as merSETA, we recently we went to the Eastern Cape about a month ago, where we went to meet with provincial government, and we say, you are the hub of manufacturing. How can we assist you? Now, we received a proposal, and one of the key things that are in that proposal is curriculum development for EVs. We're only starting now, right? So what can we do now to accelerate? So I think there's a lot that government is currently doing, like I'm sure there'll be MOUs that come out of that trip, but the nice thing about it, some of these companies that we met as merSETA, they are already in the country. So our job with the team, my EXCO team, MENCO team, is now we need to do a follow-up and see how they can assist us, and to make sure that we not catch up, but we're also part of the conversations. Secondly, we also met with Huawei, and we were amazed that it was a 25-year-old was showing us, and he was a qualified engineer. You can see that he didn't read it, he was trained to do it. We went to their research lab, again another 24-year-old. And if you look at our current youth, what are they exposed to? In terms of our curriculum, we need to look at our curriculum. One of the first things that we did in this current financial year, I approached the Ministry of Education and I said, I know you've got your curriculum, but we want to fund your technical schools. So we as government, I think there needs to be a lot of focus in terms of what we expose our children to. So if we're going to expose our children to ACEO, that's what they learn, while our counterparts are learning about coding in grade 1. So that needs to change. I know it will take a lot, but what can we do now? Fortunately, we've got all the OEMs. What can they do in their communities? Mercedes-Benz is in East London. I met with them and I said, I challenged them, but I don't think I've met with the right person there. I challenged them and I said, you here, you've got access to this, and please open a skill center for our young people. So DTI, for example, there's a nice conversation now about black industrialists. One of our key strategic objectives is support black industrialists. But we support a black industrialist who is still struggling. We want to have a conversation with DTI because they know better what their struggles with, what they're struggling with. Yes, one, access to funding is one of them, access to markets, but I'm sure training is a key part. merSETA and DTI should sit together and say, in the automotive industry, this is our target. We want to have developed so many black industrialists. merSETA assists us with this. So we need to take those conversations at that level. We need to start talking, and not just talk and do. Now, as merSETA, we're going to fund curriculum development, that's fine, but chances are by the time it's approved, China would have moved to the next level. Then what?
I want to cycle back to you before I come back to Tseche. The availability of funding in terms of skills development, is that an issue in South Africa? I mean, we've created the SETAs that operate in different sectors of our economy. Is funding a challenge for us as a country, or we do have enough financial resources to drive at least the skills evolution that we want to see?
I don't want to talk on behalf of the country, but I'll talk on behalf of the merSETA. We do have sufficient funding available. And what we often find is that we get into these contracts and we sign and then we commit. So if you look at our balance sheet, it's a huge, like it's in billions, but it's the work happening. So that is why I think it's a call for that I'm calling out to all our strategic partners that yes, we open windows for small players and we want to assist them. But I think we're not making a huge dent. What we need to be focusing on is, for example, if you look at, for example, what I'm a chartered accountant, so I know that space. I know how I got here. There was a Tutuka program. So SAICA was determined. They had goals. And they said, this is how we're going to produce so many black chartered accountants. So I think as an industry, if you want to produce black industrialists, we must be as aggressive as that, because I'm sure there's funding. Like I'm hearing there's a lot of innovations that there's a lot of partners here would be willing to partner. And especially because it's not about us now, it's about the future generations. When we leave this country, because we will leave, what do we want to leave behind as a legacy? So we need to, funding is available at merSETA, but also the contracts that we get into need to be meaningful. They need to talk to what is currently happening. We can't be funding things that are gone. We need to start thinking about what is coming. We need to focus more. I'm sure my strategy and research executive is here. We need to put more money on research and development, because most of these organizations, like Huawei, they spend 60% of their revenue on research. And what are we doing? So it can't just be 1% or 2%. We need to be spending money on research, and we also need to challenge some of these companies because we are the market for them. So it's a call out for government. If we are buying your product, come and invest in the country. Have facilities here that will upskill our young people.
You would like to see, at least before the end of this quarter, which is the third quarter of this year, with the automotive industry, what would be on your top list?
I think we should stop to be reactive. We must be more proactive. That's one. Two, that we've got a huge problem with our youth. I think we all need to start thinking about innovative ways on how we can close that gap, because they're frustrated and there are no jobs in the market. So as much as we facilitate skills development, there's no use of skills without jobs. And that's why as merSETA, what we've done is, instead of waiting for proposal, we are being proactive. For example, what we've done is we've gone to all the provincial governments and we've said to them, what are your biggest problems? And we're going to be doing that. We're going to be talking to the OEMs, we're talking to different constituencies in terms of their industries. How can we assist as merSETA? And I think it's a call on all of us who are here. We're doing our part. It may not be enough, but I think one of the things that we need to ask ourselves is, are we doing enough? Are we doing what we have to do in order to change the economy of the country? Thank you.